Hello and welcome to another episode of As Above, So Below. My name is Peter Sanderson, aka the Preston Poet, and as ever, I am joined by the world's most amazing astrologer, at least in my eyes, Amy Bird. She is going to give us a bit of an insight into the new moon, which is happening on Friday, the 9th of March at 10:59 p.m. UK time. So that will be at 11:59, almost midnight in Europe. I'm sure you can work out what that means and where you will be at that point. Amy, thank you for joining us. How are you?
I'm very well, thanks.
Good to hear. Good to hear. I don't know if you just want to get us started and just give us a little bit of an introduction to this new moon, because it's been really important to you, I know, to make sure we did a show before it so that we can really get a feeling for what's coming, because it feels, as usual, like a big one.
Yeah, this one, it's in Aquarius, and Aquarius is the sign of change. And the beautiful thing about this particular moon, or the significant thing about it, is one, that it is a supermoon. Two, that it is starting off the Chinese Year of the Dragon, which promises to be a profound year for us all. And three, that the ruler of Aquarius, Uranus, is actually forming a square to the moon, sun and moon as well, which makes it, like stronger in its Aquarius flavor, let's say. And whenever you have Uranus forming a square to the sun and moon, it brings the potential for quite a profound shift. And the beauty of Uranus is that it creates perspective, and it can bring
Mm,
moments of clarity and of, like great insight, great realizations. And, when you have these moments, it's almost like you can't go back from them. But the beauty of it is that it can give you that perspective and objectivity. What it can do also is bring kind of shocks and curveballs, things that we weren't expecting, coming
mm,
from left field, where but that when that happens, it can bring a kind of almost like jolting us into a greater sense of awareness and perspective and clarity. And it can also kind of set us on our back on our path. I
right.
feel that all the planets have essentially kind of benign in nature, because they're all kind of helping us with our growth. That's my perspective on it. That
Mm,
ultimately everything that happens can help us, grow in some way. So Uranus is also in Taurus, and Taurus is the sign of the economy and also Mother Nature. And so there can be something that happens within all of that. And what I would say about Uranus being in Taurus is that it's a 7-year process, and it's going to be there until 2026. And what Uranus does do is break things down in order to have a breakthrough. And there is that potential within our economy. It is an antiquated system. Money is essentially worthless at this point anyway. So something in a way needs to change, I think, in terms of the system. And, so there is that. I mean, there is that potential in terms of the collective, of there being something to do with the financial system. But I think also for us on a personal level, it it can push us out of stagnation. Taurus is where we can easily get stuck and not want to change. And human nature is, well, to change is to kind of upset everything, and it's a bit more comfortable where I am. So, even if it's not very comfortable, it's familiar. But
yeah.
when Uranus gets involved, it goes, okay, right, it's time to change, whether you want to or not, and you'll thank me for it afterwards. So
so
so there
so
is,
Uranus is going to spice things up for us, basically, as usual.
yes, yeah, I do like a bit of Uranus. And the fact that it's the ruler of the moon, and essentially the moon is about kind of freedom and equality, and Uranus and Aquarius also kind of free us from our programming. And we all have programming that we, accrued over the course of our lifetime that builds like layer over layer over layer. And
Yeah.
Uranus and Aquarius can kind of take us back to that original spark, the original
Mm,
little spark of uniqueness that came through that when we were born is
yeah.
always there, but kind of gets a little bit clouded along the way with the things that have happened or the way that society or our parents have told us we should be. Whereas Uranus says, "To thine own self be true," and it really encourages authenticity, even if authenticity isn't the easy route. So it's
Mm,
I'm not saying that something's going to massively hit us all over the head, but it
yeah.
could. Often these things are a little bit more subtle, but it can bring a shift in awareness and some realizations. And I find those moments where you see yourself more clearly, or your situation more clearly, it can be profound, and that's what brings the shift, the difference in perspective. So
Yeah. Wow. Thank you, Amy. It just taking a step back, as I always like to do, it already feels like there's been a major shift in the past 6 or 7 weeks. It feels like I know, from an astrological point of view, all the planets have gone direct, which is the first time in a while this has happened. It felt like we'd been kind of swimming in soup for the previous year. A lot of changes, but everything just seemed to be happening slowly. And if you try to get things done, it just felt like it was never easy to get there. And I don't. It was kind of, for me anyway. It was certainly the kind of last week of December. Things just really felt like the air had cleared, and it was a new opportunity, a new lease of life, not just at an individual level, but on a planetary level, for us to kind of stop taking stock and actually do it. The words become the action, and it I mean, it has gone so quickly. We're already into February in 2024, and where did January go? And it feels like it's going to get quicker as well.
yes, the I've seen quite a few memes saying some things about like how January was a whole year.
Right. Okay. Well, maybe for some people, well, in terms of what happened, yes, it felt like a whole week for me. But yeah, I see what you mean. Already things are happening everywhere, and I don't
Yeah,
really watch the news, but it seems like a lot of stuff is going on in all different countries. Whether it's the farmers having their revolt against governments, or all the tough, challenging things that we're seeing happening around the world right now. In Israel, for example, it's not easy to take, but it feels like it's really being accelerated now. And I guess this could be what you're talking about in terms of this new moon, that the curveballs are coming, and maybe it's a result of this, the conflict, the wars, um, the fact that we're still incredibly ignorant to Pachamama, Mother Nature. Post COVID, there was a massive warning during COVID. We're not listening. We're flying like never before. More people seem to be traveling. Um, we just don't seem to have listened, and it feels like we kind of deserve what the lesson that's coming as a mass. I know a lot of people are making a huge effort, but a lot of people have got their head in the sand still, right?
yeah, absolutely. I remember during that time thinking, oh wow, this is an opportunity for people to get off the hamster wheel as well, and to realize, that there's something more to life than just this constant striving. But yeah, it does feel like we're kind of where we were, but hopefully changed as well.
Well, I mean, I guess we can only impact the kind of mass society so much, but on an individual level, it strikes me that this new moon is an amazing opportunity to shed old skin, to plant new seeds, and I'm quoting you from your little newsletter on Facebook, and to breathe fresh air, I guess, into our lives. Um, and if it's a powerful moon, and we work on ourselves, and we're willing to change, and we're open to that change, we might get that positive jolt that we need, which takes us out of the rut that we feel like we may have been stuck in.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it is an opportunity. And with every moon, new moon that is, I always think, people set intentions during that moon. But what I tend to find is whatever kind of rises up naturally, whatever conversations I happen to be having, or whatever it is that I'm focusing on at that time, tends to be more the
Hmm.
things that kind of end up growing and blossoming as the
Right.
time goes on, and more it's better if it happens naturally. And Aquarius,
Okay.
invites us to think outside the box, and to and wherever that moon occurs in our chart
Hmm.
is going to be where the area of life that is going to be impacted. So
Okay, so you think this curveball in inverted commas is still something that is going to happen in the house that the new moon sits in our own personal charts?
Yeah, in a way, but wherever Uranus is at the moment
Ah,
for us
okay,
is probably where most changes are going to be occurring, because Uranus is the one that really brings the curveballs. But of course, the new moon and wherever the sun and moon are in our chart that's going to be for this particular new moon. Yes, it's going to be of impact. It's going to be where the focus is.
okay, okay. Right. So, and Uranus is the ruler of this new moon, and it's also squaring the sun and the moon around this time as well. Is that right?
Yes. And the sun and moon are 20 degrees Aquarius. So wherever 20 degrees Aquarius is in your chart, then that would be where the focus of this moon is and the change. And Uranus is 19 degrees Taurus. So wherever that is where we're going to be undergoing changes, and that feeling of a breath of fresh air in a general sense, because
Sure.
Uranus moves very slowly.
Yeah. So it almost feels like this new moon is an opportunity for us to get back into our authenticity and to be ourselves, or to rediscover our original selves again. Where I mean, society and life, it's very easy to be taken wherever life might take you, right? And
Mm.
sometimes it isn't doing the thing that you love doing. I mean, I love writing poetry. I'd quite happily just buy some land in the middle of nowhere and just write poems all day. And I always use the excuse that I need to earn money, and I need to do this, and I need to do that, and I need to stay close to this. It's very easy to make up the excuses, but potentially this is a new opportunity to get back to what we were brought here to do, right? Our true purpose in life.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we've got the things that we feel that we should be doing, and there's often a little bit of sense and responsibilities as well. The Aquarius comes after Capricorn, Uranus comes after Saturn, and there is this sense that the Capricorn and Saturn energy is like, what my responsibilities say as a parent, or what I'm doing in the outer world, my career, my
Mm.
programming, what society tells me I should be doing. And then Uranus and Aquarius come along and go, that let's just throw that out the door. Let's question these rules, question what we're, question that I should be doing this, lay down the
Yeah.
burden that we might be carrying. And I think I had a real sense recently of laying down a burden that I've been carrying for an incredibly long time. And I'm still not entirely sure what that burden was, except I know that I've laid it down. And that was a
Oh, well,
Uranus moment of this feeling
yeah.
of like, oh my goodness. And I realized it probably was just layer upon layer of conditioning, and
Mm.
this feeling of what I should be doing, or societal expectation of what I should be doing. And I feel since I did that, almost like I'm back being 16 years old. I feel the power of Uranus in terms of I'm back to that. My exuberance is has kind of, not that it was ever completely gone, but I think it was probably a little bit shrouded. And recently I've just been feeling so much lighter. So
Wow.
I've got a strong awareness and experience of what Uranus is capable of, I suppose, at this point, which is why I'm such a big fan, because you really can lay down these burdens. You really can.
Okay, so note to self: Uranus takes us back to being 16 years old, right?
Well, it
Sure
could
as
even
a
go back to that, as I said, that original spark is, when we come out of the womb, that will be
Oof.
even more profound. But yeah,
Wow.
I definitely have felt that way in recent times. So
Wow. Well, I have Uranus to thank for me walking out of my job at the BBC many moons ago and going traveling around the world and cashing in every penny I put into pension and used it to to see the world. And actually, everyone thought I was mad. Everyone probably still thinks I was mad, but for me, it was one of the greatest experiences of my life. So thank you, Uranus. I listened. I didn't feel like I had a choice, to be honest, but I did. I did listen.
yeah. And interestingly, Uranus is that kind of like the oddball energy, and it can be the madness. If it comes after Saturn and Capricorn, and that is kind of like reality as we perceive it, and it can be limited in some cases. Uranus just breaks all of that down, and it can be a moment of madness where you kind of like, I don't know, you're forced to kind of let go of your limited view of reality and open your mind to something bigger, basically.
Yeah, yeah. I wouldn't. I mean, for me, everyone thought it was madness, but the
I
reality was the reality was it was me stepping into. I wanted to see the world. It had always been a dream of mine. So it was basically listening to my true self. I think that's what actually happened. And yes, from a kind of living life and paying bills point of view, it was really crazy and insane, in fact. But what an experience! And I feel like that was kind of the foundation to the next part of my life. And it does feel to me like Uranus is like the divider in that you have a filing system and you have these little different colored things. It feels like you could divide my life up into key Uranus moments, whether it's marriages, divorces, falling in love, traveling around the world, making absolutely crazy decisions. But the kind of the recipe to loving life and rediscovering my uniqueness or remembering almost my uniqueness.
And your truth. Yeah.
Truth. Yes. Wow. Well, I mean, moving on from Uranus, because I could talk about that all day, but I know that Chiron, the wounded healer, is also going to be playing quite a big part, not just in our personal lives, but in that kind of mass consciousness. Do you want to just expand on that a little bit as it moves towards the North Node?
Yeah. Yeah. The North Node is our growth, collective growth, and personal growth. At this particular moment in time, it's in Aries, which is the sign of I am. And what's happening at the moment is that Chiron and the North Node of the Moon are joining together. So there is an enormous amount of soul growth
Mm,
available to us for potentially. And there's a few things that I want to, I'll just kind of play with ideas with you. But there's a few
mm,
different things that could come about. It could be the having the courage, Aries, to face a core wound that we've been avoiding. It can be doing healing around the Ariesness of life, like the masculine, which includes aggression, which includes anger, but also how we assert ourselves. How do we deal with our anger? Who are we? Are we fully embracing all that we are? It's all about identity, this sense of I am, and is there a wounding there around, I am? Yeah,
mm,
there can be, I guess, this feeling of kind of, I keep thinking about that Rumi quote, the wound is the place where the light enters you. And
mm,
I wonder whether collectively, it feels like with this Aries being the god of war and all these rumors of war, is this an opportunity to heal some core wounds around masculinity, around the divine masculine, around violence and war? And is it inevitable that we have to go to war, or is there another way? And then within ourselves, you know, and in a personal level, how do we deal with our own anger, you know, and how do we assert ourselves, and do we take good care of ourselves, or do we think that that's selfish? And yeah, I did actually look into when Chiron was in Aries before. It was 1968, 2 days after it went in, Martin Luther King was assassinated. And during that time, it was the end of the coming to the end of the Vietnam War. And then the other time was 1918 and to 1927, which was First World War. So it is, yes, we do have times of war when Chiron is in Aries. It's kind of what happens on a collective level, but does it have to be this way, you know? And so on a personal level, I think that there is a sense of healing around our identity, our sense of who we are. But on a collective level, I think this is quite a powerful and profound moment that we're entering here. And it's going to be exact on the 19th, the 19th of February, by the way. But it is also going to be very much playing into a very big total eclipse, a new moon in Aries on the 8th of April. So really, this energy is going to be playing out until April, and that eclipse is really massive. But we won't go there today.
Wow, that's a lot of stuff. Yeah, I mean, firstly, you know, your first point about the masculine, you know, that feels like something that has been brewing and almost starting. An element of it is starting to dissolve, at least through my eyes, anyway. Or an awareness. There's more of an awareness that society is really stuck in these masculine ways when it really shouldn't be. You know, what you see is when you look around, I see people now. I mean, I compare my time at school with, you know, the generation after's time at school, my kids' time at school, and I think although we probably don't give ourselves a lot of credit, I think we have moved on in many ways. You know, it would have been very hard to be gay at school when I was at school. You just, you know, at least where I lived, you just couldn't say it. If you were gay, you couldn't say it. And it was only like 10 years later, I suddenly, when social media started to kick in, or even 20 years later sometimes, and people that I had no idea, and we suddenly came out, and I was like, wow, this is so beautiful. And I sat next to you at school for 5 years, and I had absolutely no idea. So in some ways, I think we do need to give. We have grown a little bit. I know there's a heck of a lot more growth to be done in many ways. But yeah, I still look at I play a lot of sports and worked in sport. I just feel like sport is beautiful, but it remains incredibly masculine in its style. And you know, I used to find it tough being in the dressing room in matches, you know, because of all this, like, you know, chest beating and whatnot. And I just never thought it was necessary. And I know a lot of people left football, what I played, because of that. And had it been more feminine, and people started to embrace their feminine side, which I think they're starting to now at the younger age, like Generation Z. Yeah, but yeah, there's a lot of work to do, but I feel like we've got the potential to do it. But it's almost like at an individual level, it's very possible. But when you've got leaders like we have at the moment, they just don't really play that tune, do they? It really feels like the leaders representing the US, UK, many countries around Europe, they're not embracing their feminine sides at all. They want that old hierarchy. And I just get a feeling that hierarchy is going, and we're starting to become, you know, that is going to start disappearing.
Yeah, with Pluto going into Aquarius, that is one of the potentials of Pluto being in Aquarius, is the more of the less of the hierarchy and the pyramid structure, and more of a horizontal kind of structure, which is would be very, very welcome.
Yeah, man, we're all sick of those bosses, right? That bully us. There's still a lot of bullying going on in workplaces, and it's horrible to see. Yeah, and you just get a feeling. I mean, I watch Pam Gregory a lot, and her podcasts and YouTube broadcasts, and you know, she talks about the US a lot, and this revolution, is coming. You really feel it coming through, right? That the US is going to have to change its way of leadership, and maybe that the future leaders are not going to be the ones that we've seen in the past. It's going to be maybe more outsiders or people in the past who've been thought they're a bit weird, they're a bit strange, but actually they're very normal when you look at it from a totally blank piece of paper, because they're people who are open minded and aren't doing it the way it used to be done.
Yeah.
And wouldn't it be nice to have leaders like that? People who don't make decisions based on the past; they make them based on the now. I think Eckhart Tolle would appreciate that.
And maybe reluctant leaders.
Yeah,
You know,
yes, yeah, yeah. Well, who'd want to be a politician? I certainly wouldn't want to be a politician. But it's going to take someone who has got that open mind and hopefully an open heart, willing to take to be that leader, and perhaps to change the way we lead anyway. So it won't perhaps be the same, working with the media in a different way,
yeah,
rather than manipulating the media, but leading them, hand in hand.
yeah.
Um,
I
yeah.
don't think it's a coincidence that we have this Chiron Aries, North Node business going on just as we enter the year of the dragon, because the year of the dragon tends to bring quite charismatic leaders. So, people born in the year of the dragon tend to be quite charismatic and visionary as well.
Yeah.
And so I wonder what's going to happen in terms of leadership this year. I have a sense that some will get stronger, and you mentioned it yourself. The leaders of this world, what is going on with them right now? And so what might
Yeah.
happen over the course of this year? Because generally, dragon years, like if it was 2000 and 2012 that were the last two dragon years, they can be quite significant years, or they were. And so I wonder, I'm guessing that this one is going to be significant as well.
I missed that last bit, Amy, because my connection wasn't so good. Just the last sentence.
Just that I'm guessing that this year is going to be a significant one as well.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I was born in the in the Chinese year of the fire dragon, and I'm a bit weird. but and a reluctant leader as well, always. Yeah, but maybe need to blow my fire more often, But maybe that's what society needs right now, to breathe fire on the old, to burn it, to start a new vision.
Yeah, it's all playing out together. We have Pluto, the planet of death and rebirth, in
Mm,
Aquarius, which is the sign of revolution. And then we have the year of the dragon, and that's a mythical creature that burns fire over everything, and that rules transformation. And then it's a wood year, which is good for growth and new structure, and so I think, and then starting it all off with a very powerful Aquarius new moon. I mean, the fact that Uranus is squaring its own sign it
mm.
feels quite profound, like a kind of a, a an electrical kickstart to the year somehow. So I'm interested to see what happens here.
Ooh. Yeah, yeah, me too, me too. Well, so is there anything that you would recommend that people do to approach this new moon? Is there anything that, as an astrologer, what wisdom would you greet them with?
Mm. My feeling is just be open and be flexible,
Mm,
and
yeah.
and be open to the insights that might come, and open to change, and recognize where there. I think most of us know what needs to change in our lives. Most of us knows, deep down we know what we need to do to be a little bit more true to ourselves, if we're
Yeah.
completely honest. And I guess
Mm,
just tapping into that. And yeah, because I think Uranus only creates sudden change that hits you over the head if you're avoiding or resisting the necessary change that actually is coming from within you. So to recognize anything that does come is probably because you want it really deep down. So I would say the best thing to do, yeah, is just be open and flexible and open to insight. And yeah, I think that's what I would say.
And have a fire. I say it every time.
Every
Have a
time.
fire, burn everything you've got.
And yeah, on the in the dark of the moon, burn all the stuff that you want to let go of, and then at the
Yeah.
new moon, burn all the stuff that you want for yourself.
Yeah, or write down on a piece of paper. I always find
Yeah,
that's a good thing
absolutely.
to do. You know, write down all the things that you want to come and the seeds you want to plant, and even put some seeds into the fire as well, and a lot of love, and blow it into a stick, and or whatever is your best way. But it works wonders. Like we had a fire. I just got back from Australia again, and maybe that's not coincidence that I just went to Australia again with Uranus kicking my butt one more time. And we had a fire out there. Like was working with a family who are struggling with a succession, a will problem, and nothing had moved for a long time. They just wanted some positive energy. So I said, let's have a fire. So we blew it into sticks, put it on pieces of paper, threw it into the fire, and the next day everything changed. Like they didn't do anything different. And I just thought, wow, fire is such a powerful element. It's transmutation. It's so I think, and I always need reminding. We should have fires every day. And if you're in a place where there's going to be fires and it's dangerous, then obviously be careful, because we did it in Australia and there's been a lot of fires there over the years. But but we controlled it. But it was still really a great example of how powerful a force it can be.
And the dragon is a fire breather anyway, isn't it? So that's partly what the power of the dragon to kind of like, burn everything away so that something new can grow out of it as well. So good time to do that.
Yes. Yeah. Wow. Well, thank you, Amy. I know we said we'd try and keep this to 30 minutes because we could natter on all day. But is there anything you would that you'd like to add before I kind of move into poetry mode? I've got a little poem that I'd like to finish off with, but don't let that get in the way of you giving your final piece of wisdom.
No, I think I'm good, actually. I think
Oh, really?
we've said everything we need to say, I think.
Okay, good. And when are we likely to talk again? Because what is after this particular one? Are we doing something before the eclipse, or is there another episode?
Definitely before the eclipse. That's important. There's a lot happening in April, so I would imagine that we could maybe chat in March, I would say.
Okay, wonderful. Well, thank you for your wisdom, and just remind everyone where they can find you if they wanted to book an appointment with you. Your website address, or
yeah, it's amybirdartandastrology.com.
perfect. Thank you. And by the way, Amy does amazing art, just to let you know. And she takes commissions sometimes if you're really lucky, but she's a busy lady. Okay, well, I'll finish off with a little poem, and I can't remember when I wrote this, but it felt really right for this moment, heading into this new moon when we can start to step into our authenticity. It's called "This Is My Time." It's a short one this time. This is my time. I am what I wanted, and I want what I am. I live like a river flows, carried by the surprise of its own unfolding. I live with the stillness of spirit, being present and of service to all that is in every walk of life. I live to hold space like a mountain, meditating steadfastly to the valley and all within it until the end of time. I live with the surrender of a tree, rooted to the earth for hundreds of years, unmoved, accepting all that is thrown its way. I live with the clarity that comes in the aftermath of a storm, all my clutter and crap cleared out in one almighty deluge of rain, lightning, and thunder, so I can be in a place of pure peace. I am that place in my soul that has never been wounded. And here in that space, I remember that every single stumble I made was just another step towards my wholeness. I live in the silence of the forest, a place so quiet that new worlds can grow in my heart. I live to be me, and in this state, I am the change that I want in the world. I am what I wanted, and I want what I am, for this is my time.
Thank you.
I always get emotional reading those poems. It's like, anyway, thank you. It's probably because you're holding space brilliantly for me, Amy. So thank you, and thank you to everybody who tuned in for this episode. I know we're a bit random, but every time it happens, it always seems very beautiful. So really, thank you so much to Amy for giving us your time and your wisdom. And please put some comments below, everyone, and subscribe if you want. No forcing, but always good to hear what you have to say, and really enjoy also reading the comments to Amy's updates ahead of the new moon. I was reading through those, and some real wisdom there. So thank you everyone for being a part of this, and please join us next time, and have an amazing new moon, and stay open and have a fire. It's over and out from me and Amy Bird in As Above. Bye for now.